Um, how did it happen? Hi everyone! Thank you so much for joining me yet again on the Divorcee Diaries YouTube channel. I'm Jacqueline Belle. I'm a vlogger obviously, and I am an educator. And I really wanted this platform to essentially be for anyone and everyone that's interested in one divorcee story, what divorce looks like, how it feels like, and what it looks like on the other side, most importantly. So I'm here today to talk about how I got divorced, or essentially, I'm here to talk about what happened. That is the number one question that you get if you ever get divorced, is what happened? And I get it. It's a curiosity thing. You know, everybody always wants to know what happened there. How was it? Even like, how did it grow to be this way? Because of course people get married for a reason, right? They fall in love, they have dreams with each other as a family, and then unfortunately it doesn't end up working out. Actually, I will be honest with all of you, I strayed away from this topic because I was like, oh, I know this is the number one thing people ask, but I don't know how to talk about it. And now I'm just like, oh, I wrote a blog about it. It was my first blog ever. If you want a link to it, just click down below in the show notes. It is what it is, you know, and I feel like now it's been 2 years. Oh gosh, it's just a memory. It's a part of my history, but it's not what defines me. It doesn't dictate who I am as a person, but it was a great learning experience for me. So I'm happy to share with you, one, how I navigated that question, and two, answering the question, what actually happened. Because I know it's a question that everyone asks, but also questions that I've gotten even on social media. And it's just something that people are interested about. So I'm happy to share my story. So without further ado, as always, let's get into it. Okay, so brief overview. My ex-husband and I were married for 2.5 years when all was said and done. And we were together for about 5.5 years. And it's actually a funny story because we had known of each other for a very long time because his family and my family knew each other. So my aunt is wonderful, and she was great friends with my ex-husband's mother. They actually became great friends while I was a kid, and they were neighbors. They lived a block away from each other. And they always have. So it's really wonderful thinking about those times growing up, and you know, you never know how you'll see or interact with someone as you get older. But you know, I'd always known about this family and you know, my ex-husband because of my aunt, and of course she would invite their family to our family gatherings. We're Filipino. We have a huge family. We also, our friends that we want to invite are also family. We have large gatherings. That's what we do. And over time, my circumstance was when I was in grad school, I became single. And at that time, my aunt just happened to run into her neighbor's son who was working at the time, and just, you know, it just happened to run into him and was like, hey, my niece, I was newly single. She was like, hey, my niece is single. Would you like to meet her? And that's kind of how it happened. So we had known each other for a long time, which is really nice because we kind of knew, not intimately so, but we knew a bit about our families and what that looked like. And that's kind of how it happened. So fast forward from when we met, obviously we hit it off. Obviously we felt very strongly about each other, and we obviously got married. Now, when we were married, it was, at least for me, I can only speak for myself, it was wonderful. It was a great almost 2 years of just being joyful in that way of being newlyweds. But right before our 2-year anniversary was when we kind of had this just random talk at night. Actually, we were both in bed, just talking, chit-chatting before bed. And there was a moment that it was just a little odd. And I was joking around with him because he disclosed some information that I thought was interesting. I was like, well, what else have you not told me about? Because I didn't know about that then. And then just this escalation of things that I didn't know about. And I was so taken aback by it. I felt like my trust was broken because from the very beginning of when we dated, I had also come out of a long-term relationship, also 5.5 years, high school sweetheart of mine. And I knew from there, like, I do not ever want to be the last to know. Because for me, that person had been someone that, and that where we just, I found some things out afterwards. And with my first partner, my high school sweetheart, that I didn't ever want to replicate in the future. I never want to be the last to know. I'd rather know ahead of time so I can deal with it in the moment and make decisions based on that. So that was what kind of stirred up this trigger for me. As a trigger for me because I was like, I look, like this fool because I didn't know, and I'd always asked for that information beforehand. So it was not a great night when that was shared, and from there we were really kind of like, this is shaky ground. And although we were like, where do we go from here? It was agreed upon by the both of us that we would try to work through this, work it out. It was not something that I thought was worth being divorced over. So the agreement was we would work this out. And this was about July of 2018. That led to a couple months of being a bit on shaky ground because we were still trying to navigate this lack of trust. And also on his end, from what I think happened on his end, his dissonance with where he was at. And now knowing where he was at, he wasn't sure if he wanted to be in this relationship either anymore. And that was his feelings. So we decided we had a pre-planned 2nd year anniversary trip in Puerto Vallarta, and we decided to go. And at this event, like we both tried, or at this vacation, we both tried. And we also came to the conclusion that, okay, we're both going to try and make this work. Because we were, it was a couple months of just being on shaky ground. And nobody knew, let me make that clear too, nobody knew what happened or what was happening. And honestly, for many people in our family and around us, so many people gave us so many accolades. Like, you all are such a beautiful couple. You all are like the perfect couple. You all are just so happy, all these things. So we put on a great front. I will say that for a while, actually. And I would say from September, I thought, okay, so we're in it. This will probably be hard. Of course, it's hard, but we'll, figure it out, make it through, because we both decided that we are just going to make this work. And then fast forward to February, about 6 months later, I was going on a trip for a national award that I was going to receive, which was very, very exciting. And I really wanted to make sure that this was going to be an event that was going to be fun. And honestly, I was going there for free, right? Because it was a professional development experience for me. I was getting a national award. So my employer was paying, the way, because it's a conference. I just happened to be getting an award at this conference. And because I already had a place to stay, my then husband decided, okay, sure, well, I'll go too. But right before the event, I could tell it was just even more off. I mean, throughout, I would say, September through February, September of 2018 until February of 2019, it was just constant up and downs. We would have some good days, some not so good days. And it was just odd because it felt like I was always around very shaky ground. And we're both trying to figure out what we can do. So by the time February comes around and I have to go on this conference, I ask, hey, is this still a trip you want to go on? Because you really don't have to go. And honestly, I'll be honest with all of you, I didn't even want him to go because we've been so shaky. I work in higher education. So when I go into these conferences, these are people that I've known for 10 years plus, right? So these are people that I've had a lot of history with, that I care about very much. And I've gone to this particular conference multiple times. And I was really excited to just get this award for myself. And to know that if he was there, it was going to be very shaky for me, or I would have to be worried about like, okay, so how is he doing? Because how he's doing it also influence how we're doing. So it was very stressful for me. I probably should have said something, but I was just like, okay, sure, let's go. Because he said, when I asked him, are you sure you want to go to this? Because you don't have to. All we're gonna lose out on is a plane ticket for you. And he said, he took some time to think about it. He said, no, I want to go. I was like, are you sure you want to go? He's like, yes, I want to go. So we ended up going to this conference in February of 2019. And when we went to this conference, it was cool actually. Like it was like kind of, we had a moment of like going back to being like cool the way we are, like the good friends that we are. And then the night that I was to receive my national award, my first ever national award, we were heading back, and I remember, it was just really quiet all of a sudden after having a pretty good time. I thought, and I was asked, did you want to go to this? And he was hesitant, so I said, you don't have to go. Don't even worry about it. And honestly, it got some stress off my back too. So I was like, fine. Of course, was I a little bit sad that my then husband didn't want to go and support me on this huge endeavor, my first ever national award? Of course I felt that way, but it did not trump, for lack of a better word, it did not trump my feeling of accomplishment and wanting to enjoy this with my friends and family that I wanted to enjoy this with. So I ended up taking the time to just go by myself. He dropped me off, and then he went to the hotel and did his own thing. He picked me up right afterwards and said hi to a couple of my friends that he had met beforehand. Well, one that he hadn't, but one that he had met beforehand. And then we went to, get a nice dinner to celebrate, because it was also the last night in LA at this conference I was at. And then went to bed. Went straight to bed. It was oddly so, because he went straight to bed. And I was like, okay, well, I'm still excited from, this award, but, let's go to bed. I was used to the awkwardness by that time. And then the next morning I could, we were both getting ready to go work out, as we always do in the morning, and then catch our flight late in the afternoon. And I remember he just gets up and he sits at a corner of the hotel room, and, I'm just asking like, hey, everything okay? Are you all right? And he just kind of looks down, kind of looks blank, and just says, I don't want to be with you anymore. So, of course, that was maddening and heartbreaking all at the same time. And I said, what do you mean? And there was some back and forth with exactly what he meant. He's not the most direct person. So I had to kind of dig it out. And essentially he wanted a divorce. He just couldn't say it. And in my mind, I was like, so what you want is a divorce? And he was like, yes, that is what I want. And because he knew me well enough, I don't do open relationships. I don't do, I don't understand why people get separated, especially folks that are like myself are very young. So that was very new to me. And after that, I was like, okay, well, I don't want to be with anyone that doesn't want to be with me. And I had to swallow my pride and accept that, because that's the truth. And I went to leave to work out. I didn't work out. I actually just called my father and my best friend, and just cried, just cried. That's how it happened. And then, I had some time to myself. He went to go have some time to himself as well. But we came back a little bit before we had to leave for our plane, and we had a few more words. I gave him a little bit of my mind, but not so much so where I would say I compromised my integrity, not at all. I was upset, of course, but I also knew that, hey, we have to get on a plane, we have to get home. So that's what we did. We got in an Uber to catch the plane ride. Luckily, thankfully, we were able to sit in separate places, and like in the airport. And then after that, we were able to go out and or catch another Uber, get to our home. We had another moment of talking to each other, because honestly, I was very, very taken aback, and I wanted to know specifically, is this what you want. I asked him explicitly that, and he said, yes, this is what I want. And I could tell he'd been thinking about it for a long time. And so from that point on, I said, okay. I knew that it was the end of our marriage at that point. And that's what started the entire preceding actions, which was to get out of my house, to find a new apartment, and to continue to live my life in this new format and take off the hat of being a wife and move on to being just Jackie or just Jacqueline. So that's a bit about how it all happened. And, as I alluded to beforehand, it is a transition because it takes a few months. It took about a month, I think, I was very fast. A week to get out of my house, get a new apartment, but it took about a month or 3 weeks or so to get all the paperwork done, and then 3 months to actually get divorced. But what I want to have all of you know and take away is that the divorce process usually doesn't happen immediately. The way that individuals who are married get divorced doesn't always happen so easily. Usually there's something lingering, whether it's on one person's end or the other or both. And if one person's not in, then you both can't be in. And I knew that. I, of course, wanted to make it work. I'm Catholic. That's just who I am. But I cannot make it work with someone that doesn't want to make it work. And for all of you, that might be the same for you. Or maybe you all, really do want to make it work. And if you both are there, if you're in this circumstance right now or at this divide and you're trying to figure out where you want to go and what you want to do, I highly recommend just making sure that you know that both of you are on the same page. Because if one isn't on the same page, then there's no point in dragging it out if someone knows that they really don't want to be in that situation. So I hope that through all of this and through sharing my story, that it was helpful to some of you. And if you have any questions, please leave your comments below. I'm happy to answer them. Thank you all so much for listening once again to the Divorcee Diaries. I'm Jacqueline Belle. Thank you so much. Please subscribe and share with anyone else that you think this might be helpful for. So thank you. Mwah. Have a great day.